I'm Tree Master Gano for Galighticus.com, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Questions and Answers. Our next question, I'm going to withhold the name because of the nature of the question, because I don't want to implicate anyone, just in case. Okay, if someone that you know has killed someone and they've told you, does the person that has been told also carry the karma? It depends. If someone has told you that they murdered someone, do you share the karma? Well, if you did not carry out the action, I would have to say no. But if you are helping that person, and if you're giving that person advice as to how not to get caught or what to do to avoid dealing with the repercussions of their actions, then that makes you complicit with being told and knowing that your friend or your acquaintance has actually murdered someone. So that's something to think about. Our next question comes from Dawn Vaughn Brown, and she asks, you acknowledge many gods and goddesses, archangels, and the creator of all. My question is, why don't you acknowledge Yeshua in the same way? To answer the first part of the question, why don't I acknowledge Yeshua? So, for all of you who don't know, Yeshua is another name for Jesus. The reason that I don't go into Jesus as much as some people would like openly is because a lot of people would not understand, and a lot of people have not grown into the reality of what that carries. I prefer to keep that within the confines of the seminars that I give privately, because it is a very extensive subject matter. I don't wish to shake someone's faith without being able to offer them something that is really powerful in return and them have the time enough to receive it. I also choose to stay away from talking about Yeshua or Jesus because you have an entire group of people doing that already, and they're known as the Christians. So I think that most of the churches, whether you're dealing with Southern Baptists, Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, and the Roman Catholic Church, why do I need to add to that? My job is to give people some not well-known or not as well-known teachings, and that's one of my jobs. I also would point you to look at the Spanish Inquisitions and some of the other conquests that have happened where people were forced to accept Christianity, how people were tortured to death, how when someone had espoused that they could see into the future, or they had a premonition, or they had a dream, or they saw the gods, they were immediately put to death publicly. They were quartered, they were burned at the stake, they were drowned. Horrible things happened to people who espoused that they had a different viewpoint spiritually. And this is something that a lot of people have not forgotten about. So I choose to stay away from that because eventually the world will know a lot more things than they do now. But I have to be able to control who it is that I am disseminating this information to by being able to look into people's eyes and gauge whether or not they can handle it. I don't always have that utility when I'm dealing with YouTube, but when people come to a seminar, I can control that and help people to deal with that a lot easier. So I hope that answers your question. The next question comes from Wilbert Rice on Facebook. Wilbert Rice says, this past Sunday, April 30th, I finally decided to look up some information on Lakshmi. I wrote down a few notes on her and did what I normally do along with my personal affirmations. I folded it up under my candles, and early the next morning I did my normal and went to the gas station and purchased my coffee and gas. But this time when I went back and to get change from the cashier, she told me, I'm sorry, I only have gold coins for you. And she gave me $5 in gold coins and a 50-cent piece. I didn't think much of it, and I read further on Lakshmi this morning and seeing a picture of her pouring gold coins of prosperity. I'm telling myself that this is a confirmation. I think I've been looking for the quality of Lakshmi in my physical realm, and for a long time I've had the strongest urge to look her up this past Sunday. I'm very unorthodox, but I do strive to make everything I encounter practical so I can incorporate it into my life. Thanks for listening, and your response will be greatly appreciated. Well, Wilbert Rice, one of the things that I could say is that was not a coincidence, and it was not a random occurrence. The reason that you have been feeling for all of this time to look up Lakshmi is because that is your divine mother. And this is something that happens with a lot of people. She gave you an immediate acknowledgement that your conscious mind could accept as a real thing. And as you grow in your connection to her, you will start to see a lot more. And Lakshmi is a very, very powerful being that is far beyond anything that is written about her. But you're on the right path, and I would invite you to continue to study, but even more so, start to make offerings to the goddess Lakshmi and let her reveal herself directly to your heart, soul, and your consciousness. I recently gave a ritual to give to something that was touted as the pink moon, but it really should have been called the Lakshmi moon, because recently when I gave this ritual out, a lot of people saw different faces in the moon. I personally saw the moon turn into a giant golden coin, and that is something that Lakshmi controls. She controls the wealth of the celestial bodies, and you've been invited to commune with your divine mother. So I hope that you'll continue to chase that. The next question comes from Crystal Rose from Facebook, and she asks, what does it mean when you have a dream, but instead of it seeming like a memory from another plane, the dream actually plays itself out years later, moment to moment on this plane? That's a really good question, Crystal. And what that proves is that time is not real. You have gone into what is known or perceived to be the future, and you brought back the data from an event that has happened years into your future, and you have recollected it playing out moment to moment. The third dimension is where most of humans live, but when you get outside of that, time is eternal, and the past, the present, and the future are all happening at one time. It's not really something that is perceptible to the limits of your human awareness, but as you can see, Crystal, you've seen it for yourself. So premonitions is really being able to go outside of the time-space continuum and look at the vastivity of what actually is going on the eternal scale. And when you bring it back into the consciousness of your human limitation, you will perceive it as an actual event that may happen next week, next month, or years from now. But it's all happening right now as we speak. It's a very interesting paradox, isn't it? I hope this video has served you well, and I will see you on the next episode of Questions and Answers. And I hope that you will take the time to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with other like-minded people. And I will see you all in Atlanta, July 23rd and 22nd. Namaste.